to say it was a shock is putting it mildly. My husband died of a heart attack. Now, to be fair, we had, for various different reasons, we were living separate lives, but we'd been married for 30 years. Well, we'd been together for 30 years. Our daughter at that point was, she was 20. It was 2 weeks before her 21st birthday. So I had the shock of him dying in the middle of the campaign, worried about Vari, it's my daughter, and thinking, what happens if I get elected? How will I had all these permutations worked out about how life would be if I got elected, and Callum dying kind of threw them all into the melting pot, and it was completely out of the blue. Nobody knew he had a problem with his heart, and it just happened in an instant, and it stays with me. And you'll maybe understand this. It bothers me that when Vari found out, I was in a television studio, and that kind of the guilt that goes along with that, with actually not being with her when she got the news that, and I was in a television studio of all places to be. But it changed things. But at the same time, one of the last things he said to me was, just make sure you win. And so it did make me more determined.
So you're in a television studio when your daughter finds out. Who told you? Who told you when you came out of that television studio?
Well, one of my friends phoned me, who was a very close friend who was actually with Vari at the time. Phoned me because we knew there was something wrong, Gloria, because Vari had been trying to get hold of him all day and couldn't. And I said, well, it'll be fine. He'll be like going to gigs and things. He'll be at a gig, or he'll have gone to the theatre. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. But I didn't want to leave her on her own just in case. And then I thought he was going to be ill, or he, like I say, he was at a gig, but I never thought he had actually just died. And it was a friend phoned me who was with Vari when she got the news to say, I think you better come home quickly.
Does the funeral take place during the general election campaign?
Yes, it did. It was we had to wait, but it was a couple of weeks later. It was just before Vari's 21st birthday. I mean, everything happened in that whirlwind of time. And again, it seems, in one way it seems a long time ago, but in another way it seems just like yesterday. And I was with friends at the weekend who'd actually been our best friends. Coincidentally, we were talking about it, and I said, I don't actually remember very much about it. I remember I delivered the eulogy at the funeral, and I remember that much. But other than that, it's all a blur.
Are you still grieving?
I don't think we ever really stop grieving in one way or another. It's my mother, for example, has been dead now for 17 years. But I still think about my mum most days. And I've talked about my mum in Parliament. I've talked about the fact that she died of an asbestos-related condition, that she's one of the people whose name's on the monuments in Clydebank. I don't think you ever stop grieving. Part of you always thinks about it. And there are things like Vari's birthday, Callum's birthday, our anniversary, things like that, where you stop and think, and events. The best friend I mentioned, her daughter's getting married next year, and you remember all the, her christening when he was there, and Barry's christening, all these things. And I don't think you ever really if someone's been important in your life, you never really put it away completely, because they're always there.
It must be such a difficult time, because obviously one of the happiest points in your life to win an election, to sit on those green benches and represent your constituents and your party. But also
one of the things I remember, actually, it was a few months later, I was asked to open the rally at the Liberal Party, the Liberal Democrat conference, and Jo Swinson who'd also been re-elected, was speaking as well, and her and I were rehearsing at the same time. And there was a line in my speech that I didn't think anybody would notice. And we rehearsed it, and I came off stage and Jo came and hugged me, because the line was about the journey that we're all on, and not everybody who starts off in that journey makes it to the end with us. And Jo was a really good, and still is a really good friend. I came off stage, she came and hugged me because she knew exactly what I meant.
So I can see why you would become a politician in a party that wanted to be in government, that wanted to control the levers of government.
Yeah.
Now, just explain to me, because you know you're not going to win a general election. I mean, let's not have a row about that bit. But you know, the chances of you being the majority party at a general election are very, 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 very slim indeed. So I just think, how do you? What's the motive? Why not choose one of the other ones and have a chance at government?
Well, if you think back to when I did join the party, it's a very different situation. That we, in 2008, I joined the party. I'd been a journalist before, and I joined the party in 2008. And we had just left government in Scotland with the Labour Party. And we were still confident that we could get back into government in Scotland. And we knew that we were likely to get a hung parliament in 2010. Not in 2008, we didn't know, but by 2010, it looked pretty clear. So it was a very different position that the party was in then. And I know that you're going to say, well, why, you know, I could go now and join the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. I could, I suppose, in theory. But there was I was a SPAD in the coalition. And there was a day that he's now Lord Oates, Johnny Oates was Nick Clegg's chief of staff. And he was giving us our weekly pep talk. And he said, when you go out there, always remember that generations of Liberals have worked hard to have this opportunity and didn't get it. You have the opportunity that they worked hard for. Now, if I were to just walk away now, I'd have to have, for me, there'd have to be a damn good reason, because I'd be letting down those generations of Liberals who worked hard for the party to get where it was. Now, we've let it go, but we need to work to get it back. Because basically, this country is a Liberal country. I mean, I know we have our moments, but when there's legislation that we object to, or we think it's going too far right, or there was a time perhaps when the Labour Party, when Militant was seen as taking it too far to the left. But basically, we are a Liberal country. I think it comes back to what you said about wanting to change things and wanting to achieve things. I don't think it matters what career you're in. You want to be the best you can be. And if there was an election came up and I thought I was the best person to lead the party, then yes, I would go for it. I didn't when Vince was leader, because I had just become an MP. And I thought, you know, a year's experience is nothing. I was very keen for Jo to do it, because I thought then, and I still think, that Jo was the right person. We got a lot of things wrong. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, well, I mean, we let Jo down. Ed, a year later, I thought deserved the opportunity to do it and was the best person then. But if it came up again, I might. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, then Ed's the leader and he's the best person for the job.
Do you think it's a disadvantage or an advantage in the Liberal Democrats to put yourself forward as a leadership candidate, perhaps at some point in the future, and be a woman?
I don't think it's a disadvantage in the Liberal Democrats. I don't. I think in some ways it's an advantage, because it's part of our DNA to want to do things differently and to be different. I think we had a problem for a long time in that we were seen as, you know, all our MPs were white middle-class men, but we've got away from that now. So I don't think it's a disadvantage. I do think in politics generally, we have a lot to learn. I think if you look at a generation of politicians, you look at people like Harriet Harman, and you wonder why Harriet Harman was never leader of the Labour Party. I know she was interim leader, but for me, Harriet would have been a great Prime Minister. Theresa May, I actually think history will be kinder to Theresa May than perhaps we all were, because I don't think we made allowances for what was going on in the background in the Conservative Party, and that she was maybe fighting a war on three fronts. She had one wing of the Conservative Party wanting one thing, another wing of the Conservative Party wanting something else, and all of us on the other side of the chamber wanting something else completely. So I think probably history will be much kinder to Theresa May than we were.
Okay, Christine, Jardine, thank you for sharing part of the real you.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.